You're listening to all of it on WNYC. I'm David First, in for Allison Stewart. And the time has come for another installment of our series, Small Stakes, Big Opinions, where we discuss things that people feel very deeply about, despite them not mattering all that much in the grand scheme of things. In previous conversations, we've debated where upstate New York begins. When is it too early to put up Christmas decorations, the best bagels, and today, when and where to wear open-toed shoes. Yes. Now that the weather is warmer, more people are taking the opportunity to allow their toes to breathe a little, and some luxury fashion companies have even put flip-flops on the runway. But the new love for sandals and flip-flops begs the question, should you wear them everywhere? Or is it never a good idea to wear flip-flops in New York City? Emilia Petrarca is a fashion journalist and the author of the Shop Rat newsletter, and she wrote a piece for the New York Times called "It's a Great Time to Be a Toe" about all the shoes right now designed to accentuate those little toes. Emilia, welcome to all of it.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So people have been debating whether or not you should wear open-toe shoes in the city for years, right? But let's talk about this fashion trend. When did you first notice this shift of flip-flops and sandals becoming trendy again?
Yeah, so it's something that comes up, every couple years in my career where I end up, writing about toes and how people feel about them. But I would say in the last, you know, 3 or 4 seasons, we've seen luxury brands lean into it, which makes sense. They like to take something that is very every day and make it special by using whether it's flip-flops made of really nice leather, or maybe they're embellished with rhinestones, or they find ways to charge you $900 for for a pair of flip-flops. But yeah, I would say in the last like couple years it's become more of a luxury fashion trend.
By the way, maybe you can weigh in on this officially. When does sandal season officially begin in New York City?
That's a great question. I mean, there's always the people that jump the gun a little bit where it's the first nice day, maybe it's April, and you're seeing, I have to say, it's a lot of men I generally see in shorts and flip-flops when
In,
I
in
haven't switched them.
February?
Yeah, as soon as they're waiting. I don't know if they have them like in their hallway or something, but they're just itching to to show off their toes.
Right. Well, we're speaking with fashion and culture writer Emilia Petrarca. And Emilia, I think I said your last name slightly wrong earlier, so
No worries.
1,000 apologies. But listeners, we'd love to have you join this conversation. What do you think? When and where do you wear open-toed shoes? When is it okay? Is it never? Do you wear them on the train, at work, out to dinner? How do you feel about flip-flops or sandals at the office or at the airport? And do you, if you never wear open-toed shoes in New York City, tell us why. Is it because of the sidewalks, the subway platforms, perhaps a general fear of mystery liquids? Or maybe you're like me and you don't even notice what people are doing with their shoes and you're not remotely bothered by it. But anyway, give us a call or text 212-433-9692. That's 212-433-WNYC, or find us on social media at all of it WNYC. Let's talk about flip-flops as luxury fashion. What is the difference? Lay it out between a fashion flip-flop and the kind that I probably bought at a drugstore for $8.
That's a great question. I think the first thing is material. So they're not maybe plastic. They're made of something like leather, or maybe it's a suede, uh, or yeah, it's just maybe made a little bit more durable than
Mm-hmm.
something that might disintegrate under your feet in a season. And then I also think, it's fashion. There's a lot to do with flair. Maybe there's some, like I mentioned, there's crystals on it, or it's got it's sort of I imagine it's being sort of shimmery and colorful, and it's got beads or any sort of added fun. And then and then obviously we have the logo. So if there's any sort of name that you recognize on it anywhere, even if it's very, very tiny, I think that that allows you to. It's a sort of an if you know, you know type thing where yeah, you're paying for the branding as well.
Right. So beads plus logo. It's not $8 anymore.
No.
Okay, we have a text right away saying flip-flops while walking in New York City. Proceed with caution and look closely for dog poop. Okay. Thank you for that. 212-433-9692 if you want to weigh in or join the conversation. 212-433-WNYC. Someone says, I live by the Teva platforms. If the weather is over 55 degrees, my feet have to breathe. And the platforms give you a boost to avoid puddles, etc.
That's super smart. I think, yeah, getting a little lift off the ground is very helpful. And also, you want to be able to get from A to B comfortably. So that added inch probably helps your aching feet at the end of the day.
Have you noticed a gender divide in how open-toe shoes are perceived today? Do people judge men more harshly for wearing open-toe shoes?
I I think that I'm gonna be very generous and say that people judge people who don't maybe take care of their toes as or are less conscious maybe of their toe hygiene. And I think to put it delicately, men maybe care less about how their toes look to others. So that might be a cause for offense.
As you are speaking, a text comes through saying, only if feet and toenails are cut and well groomed. So is that is that a thing you hear a lot?
Definitely. And I have to agree. I mean, I think, you know, but I would say it's tough on the eyes, but I sympathize. People gotta let them breathe, and maybe that's what will help their situation. So do what you gotta do, I guess.
Do what you got to do. I like that. Okay, 212-433-9692. This is all of it on WNYC. And let's hear from Amy in Princeton. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, hi, thank you. I love your show. I have two quick points. I own a very big dog, and I'm a smaller lady. Even though my dog's well trained, when you're walking her on a leash and things, it just takes the slightest little. The flip-flops can be dangerous. Just the little curb or something, it's easier to trip, so I never wear them. And my second point is that I'm a native Californian who grew up in flip-flops. My whole family wears them. And just yesterday, I was in a doctor's office, and a nicely dressed man was sitting across from me, and somehow it perplexed me that he was wearing flip-flops. It didn't bother me at the time. I wasn't aware of it bothering me, but hearing your program, something about it threw me.
Interesting.
That's all I'm going to say.
And that's after a lifetime of wearing them yourself. That's fascinating. Well, what about that? Is that a standard thing you hear?
Yeah, I think that that's a great point and helps explain why fashion brands might be getting into this because there's that unexpected juxtaposition, of a suit and a flip-flop. And I think you're seeing that more on the runway now because it is so surprising because people, that reaction is exactly what brands are looking for because it's new, it feels a bit strange, it makes you think a little bit harder. And someone I interviewed for that Time story about toes, he told me that he went to a business lunch wearing flip-flops and a suit and he loves the way that it looks. So I think, yeah, maybe that guy was, starting a new trend.
Starting a trend. It's got to start somewhere. So, oh boy, I'm bracing myself. to read this one. This is a text we just got. The reason New Yorkers don't wear open-toed shoes is because there's always the danger of a rat running over your feet. Having survived rats brushing up against me and leaning on me, I do like open-toed shoes after Memorial Day. It's just it's too hot to be sweating in sneakers and closed-toed shoes in July and August. But still, there's that risk that has been articulated.
Yeah, that sounds traumatic, and I understand why you might not go back to open-toed shoes after that. I have to say, I am always every summer tempted by whatever sort of flip-flop trend is happening at the moment, and end up regretting it usually by the end of the day when you come home and your feet are just disgusting.
So you try it. You have tried the day living in flip-flops in New York City, and then you regret it.
Definitely. I think it's fashion amnesia or something where I forget every season, but I mean, it's real. It requires a usual like second shower by the time you get home.
Wow, getting confirmation here from an unnamed all of it producer saying I can confirm I've had a rat run over my feet. Okay.
Oh, no.
Wow, this discussion is heading in a very disturbing direction. But if you'd like to join, let's move on to something different. 212-433-9692. Why do you think people have such a visceral or strong opinion, by the way, about feet in public?
It's a great question. I think, our feet it's one of the last parts of the body that we keep to ourselves, generally speaking. I think it's still surprising when you see them out in the open. And that shock factor is also what attracts fashion designers to them. And I think there's a certain sexiness maybe about feet, but also in that same vein, repulsion. And so I think it's this constant battle that we have with ourselves and others of whether or not we find feet attractive or
it's so
disgusting.
funny. I know I hear a lot of people have this discussion, and I'm always like, wow, it doesn't seem to register on me very much one way or the other. But okay, let's take a call. Katie from Queens, welcome to All of It.
Hello. My feeling is sandals, yes, flip-flops, no. And the big difference is sandals have a strap in the back. Flip-flops when I think of them, I think of shower shoes, really. The kinds of thing, the rubber, I know they were sometimes a little more fancy than that. But that's what, people would wear them at the beach or, when they're getting out of the shower. It just seems a little, not very much to be walking around in the city with those things on. So.
Right. So, Amelia, try to change our mind on that with these more substantial ones. We're speaking, by the way, with fashion and culture writer Amelia Petrarca.
Yeah, I mean, I think she has a good point. I would say that we live in the world of so many flip-flops now. You don't necessarily need to spend $900 on a pair that's maybe a little more embellished or sturdier. But yeah, I think, and even the plastic ones, they have different colors. I think the associations maybe we're going farther and farther away from the associations with the pool and the beach as different designs come into play.
212-433-9692. If you want to join this discussion, we have a text here. I am a 74-year-old man. I commuted to New York City regularly on and off beginning in 1969. Never, ever wore sandals to New York. From broken glass to mysterious liquids, would never, ever. Okay, well, that is very clear. Let's hear from Margot in Manhattan. Welcome to All of It.
Hi, All of It. How are you guys? Anyway, as a native New Yorker growing up here in the city, there used to be a certain style, a certain trend of people walking barefoot. And that was a certain look. Now, I never partook in that, and I was too young, but that was a look. I did wear flip-flops for quite a bit of time, with bright neon nail polish, like in the 80s and the 90s. That was orange or pink or something. But the thing is, I really got tired of that disgusting feeling of when I got home of having like the city on my feet.
Mm.
So I started wearing sandals with a thin sock, and I know that's not cool, but a lot of people do that now if the sock is okay.
Mm.
But I will make an exception with, and this is not the most hygienic, and I always regret it, but there's no choice really because my feet need to breathe, of a beach boardwalk, something like that.
Sure, that's a whole
wear,
different set of rules, right? Yeah.
Some old navy.
Oh, I think we may have lost Margot, but let's talk about some of the things Margot just brought up, and it's surely one of the most controversial potentially is the combo of socks and sandals. Can you weigh in?
I personally, I'm very pro socks and sandals. I think,
Nice.
yeah, not only is it more, you're saving yourself from some blisters and potentially a rat encounter, but it's a look in its own way, and I think that that's what we're going for here, right? But I also think what she said about the barefoot movement also speaks to the attitude that these flip-flops might provide, which is carefree, closer to the earth. Nonchalance, maybe even some nonconformist attitude, especially if you're wearing flip-flops with a suit. So I think that that's an important thing to highlight as well.
Well, maybe I can get a super quick speed round from you on where you can or cannot wear open-toe shoes. Let me throw out a few here. Broadway show, nice restaurant. What would you say?
Broadway show, no, it's too cold. There's the air conditioning will you'll have purple feet by the end. Nice restaurant, I would say you got to respect the establishment. I don't know that I would do that, but it's New York, so anything goes, dress code wise.
Okay, let's hear from Charlotte in Jersey City. What do you have to say? Welcome to all of it.
Thank you. I'm probably 80s or 90s. I was going to a wedding or some fancy thing, and I had to go through Times Square, and I had on flats. Do they still call them flats? And they didn't fit very well. I hadn't worn them before. I was getting blisters, and I had to get there. So I ran 5 blocks through Times Square, and people weren't going, oh, how interesting. People were mad. They were yelling, put your shoes on. Are you crazy?
Wow.
What are you doing? But I had to get there. But I was kind of upset at how pissed off people were.
Wow.
But I made it to the wedding, and I think I had enough time to run to the bathroom to wash my feet and put back on the uncomfortable flats. But I don't remember that part.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. We just have a text. My Birkenstock sandals have several thousand miles of city walking in them and are still just as comfy as day one. As soon as the weather is nice, you gotta let the dogs be free. Okay, there you go. Your thoughts, Amelia?
Yeah, let the dogs out. I mean, Birkenstocks are great. I think they check the box that we mentioned earlier, which is they give you a little bit of height off the ground. And they've got some sturdy straps that are, again, blister proof. So maybe, they're not flip-flops, which, as we just heard, can cause, a lot of responses. But they're a nice happy medium of letting the dogs out, but not barking, maybe.
And what about this? We have a text here saying flip-flops are really bad for your feet. People will suffer later, much later.
I'm not an expert, but I believe that they don't have a lot of arch support, you might get some injuries. You're exposing yourself to some injuries, so I don't think anyone wears them for because they're good for your feet. Well, I guess maybe airing them out, but
Okay. Well, someone says here I keep mint spray baby wipes in my desk and bedside. Birks every day.
Okay.
So as we wrap up, where do you wear them? If we're talking sandals or flip-flops, is there a place you still will wear flip-flops?
I keep them sort of by the door as the shoes that you wear for a run to the store when you run out of paper towels. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is. We've been speaking with fashion journalist and Shop Rat newsletter author Emilia Petrarca. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
And that is all of it. I'm David First. Allison Stewart will be back tomorrow with conversations about prenups, Stephen Colbert, and where to find the best French fries in New York City. This is all of it on WNYC. Have a great afternoon.